So tonight at 9:30 PM GMT over on the Omegon Plays channel and on Twitch, I shall be streaming some American Truck Simulator. The task for that stream shall be to explore Arizona. Undoubtedly I am going to get lost and unable to keep up the speed limits, and I will probably crash a considerable amount. Link to the Omegon Plays channel and to the Twitch channel in the description below. Now today we're going to be talking about the importance of business, and the purpose of a business. The basic premise being to provide a service. Typically, that service comes usually with a monetary reward. That monetary reward pays for supplies, pays for staff, pays your taxes whether you support it or not, and what is left over can either be reinvested in the business or go to shareholders, or be given to the community, or put in a bank account and left there because, seriously, cha-ching. If you are unable, though, to be able to pay your staff, or your suppliers, or your taxes, because the others are kind of rewards, let's face it, then you have a problem, a failed business model. Let's insert, for this particular cafe, being marketed as a feminist vegan cafe. What makes it feminist, you ask? Well, it's the 18% additional charge for men, and the fact on this little chalkboard, cute, they openly, actively discriminate against men for reasons that are on a grand scale. Now many could argue, with recent happenings regarding this business, maybe this was the contributing factor as to why the business is now shutting down. I think there are other factors at play and it would be right to point them all out. For example, it could be because the coffee just wasn't that good, or the tea, or the crumpets. If you botch the crumpets, you deserve to go under. It could be that because of where they were located, they were unable to drum up additional business. It could be because of the grand message they were passing off, so it would be the chalkboard in this case, that it was in and of itself alienating people from wanting to go there, especially if they knew they could get coffee cheaper somewhere else where they wouldn't have to pay 18% additional. I say they, the men, because there's a very small amount of men that would be okay paying 18% additional, and they're typically brainwashed or gullible because of that whole wage gap thing. Seriously. Now I do think there's a certain level of irony here, that while making a grand point about gender equality, they are unironically being sexist. And I do still think it's possible it wasn't because of the messages on that chalkboard that this business went under. It could have simply been they were unable to pay their loans on time, and I should of course continue to exhaust all the options. It is the right thing to do. It could have been that they were just unable to afford the tax bill. It could simply be because the owners gave up, which to an extent does in fact correlate with something that the owner said, where on the Facebook page the owner stated, "We were just one tiny shop on Sydney Road that was trying to carve out a swath of space to prioritise women and women's issues, and suddenly we became the punching bag of Melbourne and the internet. We embrace conflict and leaning into the discomfort, and think the world would be a better place if people would stop apportioning blame to others and start taking responsibility for their own contributions." I feel like the word irony is going to have to crop up again, because you're trying to blame others, in that you are blaming Melbourne and the internet, all the while telling people to stop blaming others. Wow, you are genius. I would point out, as it is the right thing to do, the whole 18% man tax, that was a premium that was supposedly to reflect the gender pay gap. Again, earnings, not the same thing, which is dedicated to a women's service called the Elizabeth Morgan House Aboriginal Women's Services, with the premium taking place 1 week every month, so it wasn't year-long. I would have thought, based on some of the incidents I recall in the past involving negative publicity actually working to people's benefit, that perhaps with you guys becoming a punchbag in Australia and of course on the internet, perhaps it would have drummed up additional business, with people wanting to go there wearing shirts maybe that said men's rights activism perhaps, make America great again, soy sucks, whichever takes your fancy really. And the reason I say this, not the soy sucks part, the negative publicity, is because of an incident I recall many years ago, where Brendan Urie was on stage at a festival, and he got bottled beautifully, I might add. Because of that, and the actions after, the band Panic at the Disco skyrocketed. It was quite impressive. Pretty Odd nearly killed that, but never mind. It is worth now pointing out, there is a trend even, for businesses that start to adopt a progressive business model, and then summarily collapsing soon after. Do you remember the Feminist library thing I did? I'll link it below if you don't remember. It's not just businesses though, also, it's individuals, like performers. Hell, bands. Performers like Ellen Page, getting very proactive, summarily disappearing. Bands like Machine Head, putting out epic albums like Unto the Locust, The Blackening, and then releasing Catharsis, which is essentially Supercharger but for current year. I highly suspect in 6 albums' time, Machine Head will make this mistake again, since it was 4th album Trainwreck, 9th album tanked in all but the UK charts. But back to the main point, this trend is prevalent, noticed, when you force feed something that people don't want down their throats. Cough cough Ghostbusters again, seriously, cough cough, because Sony won't learn. With any of these messages, subtlety is key, which is where the cafe failed. Take for example Wonder Woman. Most know it is considered to be a bit of a feminist movie. It isn't. It's a fantastic superhero movie. But because of subtlety, people don't notice the messages. And I don't mean the ones that brainwash you, I mean the ones that empower without having to say, let's denigrate guys to make it happen. I would say Captain Marvel also applies, but seriously, Marvel is just an entity unto itself. You have stunt doubles that apparently never existed, and an ass double. With this particular cafe, had they not been so blatant, provocative, perhaps the business model would have survived a tad longer than it had, to the point where it might have gotten to the stage where it could have been successful long term for them to be able to expand, which is surely what you'd want to do. If you're doing it just to make a statement, then you were just willing to throw money at something to make a statement, and you were not considering the employees you took on. You were only considering a very selfish idea of trying to do things for others, but not look after your own first. Consider yourself in that instance a globalist when you should have been a bit more of a nationalist, in the sense that the people you hired should have taken precedent over anything else. It would also be worth pointing out, with this business and other businesses like it that have collapsed, they do nothing to help things like feminism and veganism. In fact, because of their actions, because of the blaming from the normies, groups like feminism and veganism take a hit because of it, because they get assigned blame. And that is because of the discrimination being perpetuated by the fools that ran that business. Your mistake was going in and just attacking. You pushed for gender equality, but the very thing you did was not equality. And because of that, and it's quite possible this is also another factor why your business failed, you pushed guys away who would have otherwise gone to your business for a cup of coffee, because they knew they could get it cheaper somewhere else, and knew that the moment they were asked to be served, they didn't lose out to someone else because of priority. Or, as most of us just call it, sexism. You know, that thing you're supposedly against because you're pushing for gender equality all the while discriminating? Clever. On their final day, they're going to be a pay-what-you-want business. So if you're interested in getting coffee, go down to Sydney Road in Melbourne and go and get a memento, I guess. You might find it has almond milk in, which is like shit. Anyway, if I don't see you tonight over on the Omegon Plays channel or on Twitch, I hope you all have a lovely Tuesday, and thank you all for listening.